Brianna Maitland was always destined for a big life. Born on October 6, 1986, and raised on a rural farm just south of the Canadian border, Brianna loved the expanse of her family farm and spending time with her animals. But still, Brianna held a persistent longing for something bigger and better. Despite having a strong passion for reading and also training in jiu-jitsu, Brianna felt trapped and was eager to experience more of what life had to offer. In 2003, on her 17th birthday, Brianna shocked the family with an unexpected announcement. She was moving out of her family home over 15 miles away to attend a different high school in order to be closer to her friends. While her parents weren't thrilled with the idea of their young daughter couch surfing between friends and boyfriends, they understood her strong desire for independence and freedom. Although Brianna was happy to begin a new chapter in life, the instability of her living arrangements took a toll on her education. Left with no choice but to drop out of her new school, Brianna took the initiative of enrolling in a GED program in addition to taking on 2 new jobs, one as a dishwasher and the other as a waitress. On Friday, March 19, 2004, Brianna took her GED exam. Feeling confident about the outcome, she went out to eat and do some shopping with her mom, Kelly, to celebrate. As the two were waiting in line to check out in one store, Brianna noticed something outside that caught her attention. She excused herself and walked out into the parking lot. After Kelly had finished purchasing their items, she walked through the parking lot to find Brianna. When she saw her, Brianna looked agitated and was suddenly in a rush to get home, stating she needed to get ready for her shift at work later that evening. Wanting to give Brianna the independence she worked so hard for, Kelly didn't question Brianna on her sudden change in her mood or her behavior. When Kelly dropped Brianna off at her roommate Jillian's house that afternoon, she had no idea it would be the last time she'd see her only daughter. Although Brianna was a very social and bubbly teenager, she kept a smaller circle of friends. They described Brianna as a hippie chick who was free-spirited and refreshingly sentimental, never hesitating to go out of her way to make those around her feel welcomed, comfortable, and loved. Brianna, who was tall, lean, and undoubtedly beautiful, often caused a lot of jealousy among the other girls at school and also within her social circle. Despite her obvious good looks, Brianna frequently turned to boys for reassurance and validation that she was attractive and wanted. In late February of 2004, just 3 weeks before her disappearance, she was physically attacked while at a party with friends. Although both Brianna and her longtime friend, Keely Lacrosse, had dated a boy named James off and on over the years, they all remained friendly and understood boundaries if one of the girls happened to be in a relationship with James at the time. When Keely later found out Brianna was dating James, despite knowing he was currently in a relationship with Keely, she became enraged and demanded Brianna answer for her actions. She confronted Brianna outside of a party, ordering her out of James's truck to fight her. But when Brianna didn't get out of the truck or even look at Keely as she yelled threats at her, Keely leaned into the passenger window and hit Brianna several times in the head, leaving her with multiple lacerations, a broken nose, a concussion, and 2 black eyes. After a lot of hesitation, Brianna was finally persuaded by her family and a close friend to press charges against Keely. These same charges would be dropped just 3 weeks after Brianna's disappearance. When Brianna arrived at work the evening of March 19th, her shift played out as usual. She finished the last of the night's dishes and clocked out at 11:20 p.m. When some of her coworkers asked her to join them for a bite to eat after closing up, she declined, stating she had to get up early for her second job the following morning. Her coworkers saw her enter her Oldsmobile and drive away in her normal direction, presumably headed home. On Monday, March 22nd, when Jillian arrived home after being gone for the weekend, she was surprised to see Brianna's handwritten note still in the same place from several days prior. Thinking Brianna spent a few days away from the house like Jillian just did, she didn't think much of it until the following day when she still hadn't seen or heard from Brianna. Concerned, she called Brianna's mom, Kelly, on Tuesday, March 23rd, to ask if Brianna had been staying there. Jillian explained to Kelly that Brianna had left a note on March 19th, informing her that she'd be going straight home after work. But now, several days later, the note was still in its original place with no sign of Brianna. When Kelly was unable to locate Brianna after calling several friends, family members, and Brianna's coworkers, she reported her missing. Bruce, who was working in New York at the time, immediately drove back home to begin the search for his daughter. Frustrated over the slow pace of the investigation, the Maitlands took photos of Brianna to the local police station. After describing and answering various questions about Brianna, her parents were stunned to find out the police had actually found Brianna's Oldsmobile 5 days earlier. Minutes after Brianna left her shift at the Black Lantern Inn, multiple people noticed an odd scene at an abandoned barn on Route 118. One witness claimed to have driven past a wrecked car between 11:30 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. that evening. Although it was a bizarre sight, the witness continued on his way. A short while later, between midnight and 12:30 a.m., a second witness reported seeing the same vehicle at the old Dutchburn barn as the first witness. Again, this witness was surprised at the unusual state of the vehicle, but also continued on. Later, around 4 a.m. on March 20th, James, who was Brianna and Keely's on-again and off-again boyfriend, drove past the same scene. For a moment, he believed he recognized the car, but after being unable to find anyone in or near the car, he got back into his own vehicle and continued home. During the morning hours of March 20th, travelers passing by the barn found the scene to be so unbelievable and eerie, they decided to exit their vehicle to take photos of the unusual sight. The photos show an abandoned car, an older model green Oldsmobile, sitting backed into the side of the abandoned home. The car hit the house with such force that it caused a large wooden board that had been blocking one of the house's windows to fall out and land on the trunk of the car. At various points throughout the night, witnesses claimed to have seen the car's headlights on and flashing. Later during the night, another witness said he believed just one light was actively flashing. All witnesses confirmed the car's 2 front doors were left wide open. By the time the group of witnesses drove by the scene the next morning, the car's doors had been closed. No lights were on or flashing, but the group of travelers did find various items strewn about near the car. When officers were later called out to the scene, despite the unusual resting place of the car and the miscellaneous items both inside and outside of the vehicle, they assumed a drunk driver had crashed and fled the area. Not realizing a potential crime took place just hours earlier, they never took any photographs or collected evidence from the scene. The only photographs of Brianna's car during those few hours it was at the barn were taken by the curious travelers. With so little clues available to help figure out what happened to Brianna, several theories have been suggested to explain her disappearance. Considering her strong desire for independence and room to grow, could she have simply decided she was ready for more? Although Brianna's personal belongings were left behind in her car, including 2 uncashed paychecks, many still believe Brianna's urge to experience a bigger life could have sparked an impulsive decision to up and leave. However, Brianna's loved ones insist she would never leave without staying in contact in some form with her friends and family. After Brianna went missing, her friend Keely was said to have been carefree and unconcerned over her lingering charges for attacking Brianna several weeks prior. Keely was said to have even told mutual friends that she knew nothing would come of the charges because with Brianna missing, there was nothing she could do now. Could that night several weeks before played a part in Brianna's disappearance? Some people believe Keely and James worked together to set her up and cause her harm the night she went missing. If Keely was still angry over Brianna dating James and for also refusing to fight back the night of the party, Keely could have wanted to confront her a second time. Although both Keely and James's alibis were confirmed and they were later cleared of suspicion, the altercation and jealousy surrounding the trio still leave many to believe they played a role in Brianna's disappearance. When someone contacted Bruce directly to tell him Brianna was being held captive in a nearby home occupied by Ryans and Jackson, 2 local drug dealers, Bruce immediately sprang into action and ushered the authorities to the house for a thorough search. Although Brianna was not found there, nor were there any signs she had been held there, several arrests were made of people inside the home for possession of drugs. The following year, Ryans and Jackson were named in Brianna's disappearance a second time when a woman named Debbie came forward. Debbie claimed Brianna had lent the drug dealers money before her disappearance, and when she asked about being paid back, Ryans and Jackson went into a rage and killed her. Debbie claimed they stored her body in a friend's basement for a week before taking her to a pig farm to be consumed by the animals. Although the witness went into great detail over the murder and subsequent days afterwards, authorities were never able to confirm her allegations. One of the strongest theories circulating Brianna's disappearance includes her odd behavior the afternoon she went missing. After excusing herself from shopping to go out to the parking lot, there was a noticeable shift in both her mood and her behavior. Was someone waiting for Brianna in the parking lot that day? Many believe Brianna was threatened or warned by someone, possibly advising her to not go to work that evening. After finishing her shift and getting into her car that night, some theorize a predator was waiting in her back seat. Whether it was someone tied to the local drug scene or an acquaintance involved in the Keely and James love triangle continues to be debated. Other explanations include someone waving Brianna over to the barn as she drove down Route 118. Brianna's vehicle being backed so forcibly into the side of the farmhouse could indicate she was trying to flee the scene, presumably to escape danger. Taking into account both front doors were open at some point, someone could have cornered Brianna, dragging her out of her car and away from the barn altogether. While Brianna went missing during the same time serial killer Israel Keyes was targeting young women in nearby states, including Brianna's home state of Vermont, the FBI cleared him of any involvement due to him being in another area at the time of her disappearance. Still, many can't help tying Brianna's disappearance to Keyes and even relate it to Maura Murray, a young woman who went missing in February of 2004, just 90 miles away in New Hampshire. Like Brianna, Maura's case has unusually mysterious elements that leave her case unsolved 20 years later. After Brianna's disappearance, the Murray family reached out to the Maitlands directly to see if their two daughters' disappearances were in any way related. Although the two women in their cases are believed to have no relation to each other, the Maitland and Murray families were able to act as support and encouragement for one another while they searched for their missing daughters. Years later, in 2006, a man from Brianna's hometown was visiting a Caesars Palace casino in Atlantic City. He was stunned to see a young woman sitting at a table who looked like she could be Brianna Maitland. He later called authorities who drove out to the casino to review video footage of the young woman, who was sitting next to an older gentleman. The two sat at the table for an hour, talking and laughing, before getting up and leaving the casino. While many of the woman's mannerisms matched Brianna's, even after watching the footage, the Maitlands couldn't say for certain whether the woman was in fact their daughter. Despite numerous efforts, authorities still have not been able to identify the woman in the video. After many excruciating years passed with no answers or being any closer to finding Brianna, authorities announced in 2016 they obtained DNA from where her car was found. While some of the belongings that were later tested were confirmed to belong to someone else, the public is still awaiting answers on if any of the other tested DNA matched Brianna or was related to her disappearance in any way.